Gentlemen, before we start, I want to simply say thank you to my Patreon supporters down here. The guys that come up at the end of the videos, all 600, some of them. I just want to say thanks for supporting the channel and supporting me, making it so that we can keep the lights on over here on a consistent basis and just really standing in there with me. If you guys enjoy the content that I produce, please think about coming and joining the guys on Patreon. It costs, I think, like $1. But I just want to say thanks to them, these guys down here. And you could be one of them too if you choose to be. Today we're going to work on this Palomar tx-5200. To me, in my mind, this amplifier is a bastard child. And what I mean by that is it's not really an all-band amplifier. I don't think that this meets type certification, but it's neither here nor there. We're morally flexible in that department, as everybody's come to figure out and know. This is RO number 85 or 87 or 88. This is technically the last RO for 2023 right here. This amp right here. I think I might have double issued the RO number 85. That's the reason I say that, because I just did ROs number 83 and 84. No, this would be RO 85. So it's in between ROs 86 and 87, which I've already done. We just finished up doing ROs number 83 and 84. This is RO number 85 from 2023's workload. So he says that he purchased this at a Hamfest about 6 years ago. He ran this in the mobile with an ICOM 706 Mark II-G, good radio, old school badassness. About 300 watts out, and he used it exclusively on 80 meters. He was talking on it one day, and then he just smelled something like PCB board burning. So I said, well, we'll take a look at it. Some of the parts in this thing are very commonplace, some not so much. So we'll see what we find. Technically they do work. Technically they do put out power on frequency. Without the filter board bank that's involved with most all-band solid-state boxes, I thoroughly question how narrow or how wide that actual harmonic pattern is that comes out of this. But like I said, once again, moral flexibility. That's a good sign. I don't see any of the 15 ohm smoke in this case, or 10 ohm smoke come out of this thing. Yeah, here it is. It's common. This is a common thing. This resistor here burns up, and so does this one. And it usually comes from overdrive. Here and here. These are the two. This one is an inductor, hasn't gotten too hot, but that resistor is a little hot. Been a little hot. I'm not a big fan of using trimmers in a mobile box without locking them down. None of these are locked down. Just not. It does have a very rudimentary band switch over here. It's for the upper frequencies though. Boy, these are pretty burnt here. Huh. Well, that can't be safe. Well, we'll have to take a look at it to hook it up and run it. This has got SRF 2072s in it, which the closest for that would be like the HD 454 or the MRF 454 or something like that. Probably had something in the output network of this come apart. I've had these come in where the traces get fried over here on the filter board. I've had them where these variables back all the way out, and one's way out of tune with the other. So what happens is this one will produce more power than this one, and it won't balance, and it'll burn this up. I think our best way to just go about doing this is let's just put some power to it, and just go ahead and we'll short key it and we'll run it. Let's see, what is this? Floating ground unit, negative or positive ground fused lead must It's the original safety sticker. It's on the inside. This is board rev number 2. Now, I want to hook it up, soft key it real quick. Just put like 5-10 watts in it. See what happens here. Input. Bias controlled. This has got me thinking here. All right, let's hook it up. Let's give it a quick run. Let's see what we get. Okay, so we got the ICOM 7300 hooked up, and we're putting out about, we got it on AM. And we just got it putting out about half a watt to a watt worth of input power. And we're keying it so low because we don't want to burn up anything else that isn't already burned up. So let's see if I can get the right angle for this. Right down the middle of the screen here, these are our transistors. So transistor 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Go around here, we'll turn the amp on. So we can see these 2 transistors light up immediately. These 2 are dead. This one's trying, but these 2 here are dead. If we notice here, our combiner resistor's getting hot, obviously. So he pulled out just before he managed to make any major damage other than the transistors being burnt. So we know we've got 2 that are dead for sure, but it is trying to amplify. And surprisingly enough, let me zoom in even more. It is making power, and it's over 47 dBm down if there is any secondary, and it's in the noise force. We can't hear it. Of course, this is not a really fair test until we actually can get the whole amplifier doing amplification things. So I got to call the customer and see what he wants to do. I've got to go dig through my giant stockpile of transistors to see if I got any SRF 2072s, which I doubt I do. Almost bet money I don't. So our options are to replace these with 2290s, or put like HD 2879s in here, or Toshibas, and then change how all of this is laid out as far as capacitance here and here. I think I'm going to hold up on calling the customer. I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to pull these 2 transistors out, and I want to test but verify. Test but verify. Okie doke. So this transistor here comes out of this hole here, and this transistor here comes out of that hole here. My dog wants me to go play with him. My dog's out here with me, and he's got his hard baseball with him, and he wants me to go throw the ball for him. So I pulled the transistors out, and I did a little bit of digging through the thermal compound. Let's see if I can get this little wire to get picked up on my finger. Okay, so you see this little horseshoe, this little tiny wire? This was underneath this transistor, all right? So the transistor is sitting on this wire, sitting in the thermal compound. That's too big of a gap for the thermal compound to make up. And then there's a bunch of other shit that was in the thermal compound, which leads me to believe that the transistors have been changed in this amplifier. Doesn't matter. Let's give these a test. Let's see what we get here. Oh yeah, diode junction, red green, which are these 2 leads are shorted together. So this transistor is El Crapo. El Crap to the O to the O to the O, El Crapo. And I have a feeling this one's going to be the same way. This one's so bad off it doesn't even have a component, no function of component test. Okay. I might have one of these transistors, but I don't have 2. I really, really want to put some cheap HG 16D08s in here and see what happens. I mean, I do. I need to call the customer and find out what he wants to do. That's where we're at. It's that simple. It's just that simple. So let me make some phone calls. Okay. So earlier this week, I was having a discussion with one of the guys that I'm working with on teaching about boxes. And he wanted to know why on most amateur all-band amplifiers, there's such a vast amount of attenuation on the input. And I was explaining to him that most amplifiers that most of us free build, you know, we build by hand, they're mono. They're for one specific frequency band, like 10 meter, 11 meter, 12 meter, 15 meter, 80 meter. So we can tweak the circuit to be perfectly resonant and to accept as much power as we put into it, blah, 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 blah. But with amateur amplifiers, what you're looking for is to have your input response. So we'll say this is SWR 0, and over here is frequency. We'll say 30 megahertz. Okay. It's impossible to hyperband or hyper monoband for each particular frequency, like 80, 40, 20, 10, and 15, like on this deal here. So what we end up doing is we create a palette. This is our palette section, the amplifier section of it. We create a palette that has a relatively what we call flat response, okay? So this particular amplifier was designed to operate with an SWR input of about less than 2. So we'll say up here is 10, down here is 0, and then we'll say 3 megahertz, and then we'll say 7 megahertz, and then we'll say 14 megahertz, and then we'll say our upper, you know, all the way up to 30. The idea is to create a palette that has an SWR that looks a lot like this. It's just flat. Okay, and we'll say this is like a 1.5. In actuality, what ends up happening is we end up having an input SWR up around 2 to 2.5. Okay, which is still not horrible, but it ain't the greatest. Now, as you look at the thing on frequency, as you move through the frequency, you'll find that your SWR actually ends up looking something like this. You'll find that you'll have a rough input SWR that looks like this. So then when we go and we put an attenuator, we're hiding this bad SWR because it's bad. No offense or buts, it's bad. We're hiding this SWR behind the attenuator, but we're only bleeding off like, well, in this case, we're going to bleed off a whopping possible 6 watts worth of power, okay? But to the equipment that we're running into the amplifier, we're going to see an SWR down here, 1.2, 1.3, down here on the bottom. But behind that attenuator, we have this. So that affects our power output. So let me go to a different piece of paper. We'll say once again, instead of SWR, we're going to make this watts out. Okay. And then we're going to use, once again, 30 megahertz. We'll say 0. Remember this curve. Remember this curve. This particular board design is crap. It's just crap, okay? We're basically polishing a turd. I don't know what Palomar was expecting to get out of this for response. I don't know the whole history of this, but there is no type acceptance tag on any of these I've ever looked at. So does it really work? Goddamn phone is just ringing all day today, and that's good. That's a good thing. I'm not bitching. I have to come back to that phone call in a minute. So this amplifier, now that we've changed out the transistors in it, had a natural SWR of, well, before I changed the transistors out, of course the SWR was way high. As soon as I changed the transistors, I had an SWR up in the area of 2.5 all the way across the chart, right? And if I was to massage the variable capacitors on the output transformer's input in the output circuit, I could get that lower, but it would only work on one band. And that's the reason why I say, does it really? I mean, there's a lot of guys that use these though in the amateur community. There just are. So you'll find, we'll say, I mean, in theory, this amp can now take 100 watts worth of input, but we'll say that we're going to run it like 70 watts. With 70 watts of power in, we'll say 70 over here, you'll find that our output power, this is in, our output power is going to be down here, or no, pardon me, this needs to be out. Output. Okay. We'll find that as we go from 80 megahertz, which is the lowest this amplifier is designed to set up to go, 3.5 megahertz, we're going to see our power do something like this. And jump way up, and then it's going to roll off like that. So we should see about 300-ish here. Then we'll say again, okay, now it's 7 megahertz or 40 meters. We'll see a peak of 400, which is about 100 watts transistor, which is good. And then we'll see at 14, it's going to start to drop off, 20 meters. And then by the time you get over here, because it's a blanket, this is a 15 through 10 meter position on the knob here. So, our 15 through, or pardon me, 18 through 15, and then to 28 megahertz. We're going to see by the time we get out here to the 28 megahertz band, we're going to see this drop. Okay. This amplifier here, the SWR, kind of looks like a reverse smiley face when you go and measure it. Okay. So right out here at 7 megahertz, we have our lowest SWR dip. But this is still what we call a broad flat response, right? So what I did on this to make it a little bit more viable and a little bit more stable, I guess would be the best way to put it, right? The idea is here that we're going to take this turd and we're going to try and polish it up so somebody can use it across all the bands and at least get themselves a little bit of benefit out of the whole thing. So to achieve that, you see that bank of resistors in the back? It's a very, very slight couple watt 10 dB attenuator. So the RF comes in, goes through our relay board, pops out, goes through the attenuator and drops out, and then comes over here to the input. Physically match these, physically match the output tuner, physically match the input tuner. So before we go any further, let me run over here and I'll turn on the spectrum analyzer. And we're going to use our ICOM 7300. Give me just a second, guys. My wife just walked out. I want to see what she needs. Okay. Let's reshoot this segment. Hopefully the camera stays in focus this time. This is a 100 watt 2 through 30 megahertz element in forward. We have it in 5 times. So we're reading that middle scale, 0 through 50, and we're adding a 0. Over here, focus and stay focused this time, is our spectrum. Let's give you guys a couple little hints on what I'm showing you here for data. All the work that we're going to do is going to be down here in these 2 boxes. Okay? We're starting at 0, our center's 150, Our stop, or the top end of things, is 300 megahertz. So anything that we do down in here, we're able to see our first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, whatever harmonic. According to the books, and according to anybody else I've ever even talked to, and please feel free to give me some shit about this down in the doobly-doo if I get this wrong, if we have our principal, our top up here is -7, by the way, and the bottom of our noise 4, the inside side of the noise 4 here, is all the way down here at, what is that, 52 dBm down, okay? According to most, including some specification pages, if I have my principal here, and I am 47, 45 dBs down on my second order harmonic, if there is one, which we're gonna notice most, there's not. As long as that second harmonic is way down here, there's so little energy that's present from the principal that no one cares anything about it. The antenna is going to trap it out, or it's going to get caught by some other setup in the system, and no one cares about the half a watt that might be being generated down here. Okay? The reason we have to cover that is because of this filter board that's in here. This ain't the greatest thing in the world. This is bare, soup to nuts minimum trapping. And this is our output notch filter. I've covered how these work in multiple YouTube videos. Many videos. Okay, so let's set you off over here. Now we got the baseline of what we're doing. Let's go take a look at the ICOM. This meter here, the SWR bridge in the radio, is what we want to look at. So the amplifier is off. Hello, 111111111. No big deal. Okay. Let's make sure I got my coax connecting. Hello, 1111111. Let's go over here. Hello, 1111111. That squiggly line on the far left of the screen. Yeah, that's where we're doing our work. Oh, wait a minute, I gotta show you power. Huh. This is my first time at the rodeo, right? Hello, 11111111111. Okay. Hello, 1111. We're gonna put about 55, 56 watts in this thing. Let's take it down to 5x. Hello, 111111111. All right. Hello, 111111111. Hello, 1111111. That's us on 12 volts. This is what it's doing on 12 volts. 50 watts of drive. Hello, about 180 watts out. Hello, 1, 2. So let's reach down here, and we'll turn on our make more power supply. Make more power of the power supply. And we'll let this come up. Now the radio is regulated, so we're not going to see any more power out of the radio, but we're going to see more out of the amplifier. This is our input tune for 80 on this amp. Hello, 111111111. See how it's stupid, silly flat? That's because of our attenuator. This guy, making magic happen for everybody since, 1875, when you guys actually created this stuff. So let's go over here. Now with a little bit higher volts, remember we're on this little tiny piss-ass wire feeding this amp. Hello, 1-1. Hello, 111. Hello. So maybe about 230 watts. Hello, 11111. And we're over here spectrally fairly pure. Hello, 11111. Okay. Now let's go to 40. Bloop. Bloop. Okay. Hello, 121212. That's the radio. Hello, 121212. We're still well within acceptance. And there is that second order harmonic that has everything to do with the filtering network that's in the amplifier, which I have no control over. And this is tuned to be the cleanest that it possibly can be. Here's our power output level. Hello, 12121212. So the customer states that he uses an ICOM 706 Mark II-G. This is the closest to an analogous of that I have. I have a Mark II-G hanging over there on the wall, but I'm not going to try and run that and drag all of it. It's not worth it. Let's look at our input SWR. At 01111. That Mark II-G, with him putting 100 watts in it, he was getting 300 out. So now we're putting 55 watts in it. At 01111. We're getting 300 out solid like a button, and it's relatively harmonically free. This is where things start to get sad. Let's go ahead and we'll click this on over, go to 14 megahertz. Hello, 1-2, we're back to our 200 watts. Once again, our input, hello, 1111111, hello, 1101 is 1.3 SWR. Hello, 11111, and then let's go over here. First radio to show principal. Hello, 1-2. Now to show amplifier. Hello, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Clean, okay? Clean. So let's go ahead, we'll jump over all the other garbage and we'll get right up onto 10 meters here. Go to 28 megahertz. Hello, 111111. Here's amplifier, or radio I mean, hello, 11. Here's amplifier, hello, 1111. Doesn't help us out an awful lot, does it? It's okay, the customer is more concerned about 40 and 80 than he is any of these upper bands. Believe me, there's a lot of amplifiers out there that do 10 meters. Hello, 11111. Hello, 1111. We see that nasty, ugly second order harmonic. Once again, that would be something that I'd have to adjust in this trap right here. It's a 4-position trap. Here, 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 and here, and here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we work on the band selector. That's 80, 40, 20, 10. All right. So at the end of the day, everybody's going to ask, well, what happens when we put 100 watts in it? Not a lot. So let's go over to its butter zone, which is 40 megahertz. I tried to make it a little bit more groove toward 80, and this amp's just not having it. So let's go over here. We'll go to 7 megahertz. We'll turn the power up to 100%. 100, there we go. So, amplifier off. Hello, 1-2. So we got our full 100 watts worth of drive going in. Hello, 1-2, 1-2, hello. Hello, 1-2, hello. 350 watts of drive. That's all we're getting out of it. That's just about right where we need to be. Now, I can tweak some of the tuners inside this amp and make it do 400 plus. Focus. What are you focused on, camera? There we go. I think I might need to clean the sensor. It's been a minute since I've done that. Anyhow, I can tweak the tuners in here, inside of here, and it'll do a little bit more on the watt meter, but it's not actually clean power. And clean is mean in the amateur community. Splatter is no good, right? Hello, 11111. Hello, 1212. And that's at full power. I strongly suggest that you keep it about 60 to 70 watts worth of drive. Hello, 12121212. You see how the attenuator is nice and happy by seeing the SWR change? Hello, 11111111 versus hello, 1111. Okay, so we're clean, making righteous power. Everything's good. I want to say this. These two transistors here, these two lovely piles of sheet-ot, I want to take them out to replace them, and the tab fell off, almost fell off, or did, now it's fallen off, of this transistor. This transistor is no component detected. This transistor has a gain of 1. So we were right on the edge of killing these. And these just met their last day here. These are shorted, the other two are dead. 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 Needless to say, I think we're pretty much wrapped up on this little guy. The owner of this thing, I want to give him a little piece of tentative advice. Listen, I'm here to help support you, okay? These aren't the best amplifier in the world for all band. I mean, I hate to say it, even Mighty Fine Junk beats this up. Filter board's a little bit more intense, and the palette is way better constructed. I had to add capacitance on the input, capacitance on the output, and put an attenuator in here to get this thing to barely do 350 watts clean. But the power is clean. If you have a problem, call me and we'll figure out what we got to do to get this to be more useful in your situation. So we're going to let it go like this, but if you end up having a problem down chain, call me and let's see what we can do to make this a little bit more useful for you. Okay. That being said, I'm going to put the tin on this. I'm going to leave the stock wires because I don't have any more of these connectors, and looks like he's already got this short tied to something. I'm going to leave this be. I'm going to go through, I'm going to put fingernail polish on all the tuners to keep them from jiggling and resetting themselves, which is not what we want to have happen. And we're going to leave it sit just like this. If the end customer has a problem, you can call me, we'll work through it. Well, gentlemen, this has been an interesting adventure for me. This is a quick little short video, but this actually represents quite a great deal of time behind the scenes. But this thing's wrapped up, as close as we're going to get it. I'm going to call the customer, discuss with him my results. If there's any more changes, I'm going to go ahead and make them that he wishes to have done. But for the most part, I'm done and I'm out of here on this one. If you guys got any questions or anything I can ever do to help, don't hesitate to give me a call. Like I said, I've got to get back on the phone now and return calls myself. Thanks to Siglent, XS, Bird, Coaxial Dynamics, MechMan, all of you, and a super thumbs up to all the Patreon supporters. If you ever thought about joining me on Patreon, please feel free. Come sign up. Come find the handles and call sign list in the group. Put your handle and call sign in there, and I'll add you to the thank you reel that comes up at the end of every single YouTube video.